All right, welcome back, Powers on Sports Podcast. All right, now we are going to take you to Nashville, Tennessee. You're saying, what are we taking to Nashville for in early December? The MLB Winter Meetings, and we have my man Steve Carney, who is in the hotel at the Winter Meetings in Nashville. We're going to get some thoughts and insights about Ohtani, maybe what the Rays might be thinking, and a little Army Navy as well. So, welcome back to the podcast, Mr. Carney.
Yeah, it's good to be here again, Jason. Yeah, the spacious hotel room that I'm staying in here in Nashville as we wrap up the winter meetings here on this Wednesday.
Now, give the audience a little sense of are you in downtown Nashville? What part of Nashville are you in?
No. We're up by the winter meetings are at the Gaylord Opryland, which
Okay.
is northeast of downtown, and I am just across the street from there is where I'm staying. Now, just across the street still means about a 40-minute walk to get to the Gaylord because that that whole property is so big. Like people don't understand just how big the Opryland Resort and Convention Center is. It's enormous. There's like four different hotels, this convention center, a water park. It's wild how big this place. I knew I was in for a lot of walking. I didn't realize just how much walking that was going to be. My feet feel like they're about to fall off, and I wish I had packed a Theragun in my suitcase because they are just. I mean, I'm a big guy. I'm almost 300 pounds, and to make me do that much walking is just unbelievable.
You're getting your steps in for the day, sir. You're getting your
Big
steps.
boy getting his steps.
All right, another part of this. Give the audience a little sense of once you get into the convention center, we hear about the winter meetings and trade chatter, and give us a little sense of are there GMs walking all over the place? Are there agents? Give us a little sense of what it is when you're actually inside this convention center and the hotel that you're over at the Opryland.
Yeah, it's amazing to see who you run into in the lobby. You end up not seeing a whole lot of GMs in the lobby. They tend to stay up in their rooms. Every team, with the exception of I believe the Dodgers, are staying at the Opryland, and they all have suites in different parts of the hotels, and uh, they'll usually stay up in the suites for the most part. They came down yesterday and mingled with people, which was wild to see. But for the most part, they'll usually stay upstairs. You see a lot of agents. You see a lot. Yeah, I've run into former players. I've run into agents. It's some of the people on the ancillary side of baseball, some technology people. It's been interesting to say the least. I yesterday I came around the corner and almost ran over Dave Stewart, the former Oakland A's pitcher who is trying to get baseball here in Nashville. He was on his phone. He gave me the stare, which was maybe one of the scariest things I've ever seen in my life until I apologized. And then he smiled at me, which was pretty funny.
um, does what kind of baseball business happens at these meetings other than the free agency chatter and is there actually operational baseball business that happens at these meetings?
Usually there is. You'll hear some talk about rules modifications. Not so much this year. Last year was really big with the pitch clock and with the banning of the shifts. But you haven't seen much of that here in this meetings. But there's a lot of like new technology that gets brought to these meetings, and so you'll see um, staffs going and checking out these technologies. I actually ran into the Rays hitting staff, including Rays hitting coach Chad Matola, as they were going to look at some piece of equipment that they were going to use in the batting cages, which I didn't get a chance to go with them, unfortunately, to check it out with them. But but so you'll see it's a lot of people that are looking to try and help the game get better in other ways as well, and that's what we've seen a lot here this year. Not so much about rules changes.
All right, let's get to some players on the field. Obviously, the number one A-plus guy that everybody's talking about is Ohtani. Where's he going to end up? There was rumors that he had a secret meeting with the Blue Jays down here in Dunedin on Monday in our part of the world. Dave Roberts came out and said he met with the Dodgers last week. What's some of the chatter you're hearing? Is it the same old suspects, or is there a team out of left field that may be a serious contender here?
Well, I certainly think that it's funny that if Shohei Ohtani met with the Blue Jays on Monday, and I have no doubt he did. The guy the person who runs the Blue Jays Florida operations and their spring training complex, Shelby Nelson, was here in Nashville. I saw him personally. So if they met with Ohtani without him, he's going to be really, really upset. But I have no doubt that he was there. So, Rosenthal usually does not put out that sort of stuff unless he has double and triple checked, and you can pretty much take his word as gold. So the Blue Jays certainly seem to be are certainly interested. You heard Dave Roberts mention his interest. But my thought is that until the ink is on the paper, don't count out the San Francisco Giants. They need somebody like Ohtani. And so whereas the Dodgers want Ohtani and the Blue Jays want Ohtani and the Angels want Ohtani back, I think the Giants need Ohtani. And so I would say that Ohtani's future is still well up in the air. I don't think we're going to get anything here today on Wednesday before the meetings end, but it's the biggest domino out there. And I think between him and the other Japanese pitcher, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, once those two decide on where they're going, I think all the other dominoes fall at that point, and you're going to start seeing a whole lot of momentum going. I think it starts with Ohtani, and then it just builds speed up from there, and you'll start seeing stuff move.
You hear any chatter about any big names getting traded once, obviously, the Ohtani, any big names that are kind of floating around that could get moved? I know there's been some talk of Mike Trout, potentially Alex Bregman. Those GMs have come out and said they're not trading him, but you never know. Any big names that you heard potentially get moved?
The big name that's out there is, of course, Tyler Glasnow. The Rays pitcher is he's in his last year before free agency. He's scheduled to make $25 million this year. The Rays have never paid somebody $25 million for a season. So, and it's not even close. I think the most they've ever paid anybody right now is 15, which
right. Eflin,
Charlie Morton.
Charlie Morton, right, okay.
Eflin is going to get 18 here next year. So, gotcha. The way his deal was kind of backloaded, so he's got a big year in his third year of his deal. But Charlie Morton got 15 million from the Rays in 2019 and 2020. That's the most anybody's ever gotten from Tampa Bay. So 25 just seems like, and for a team that's going to have at most, like right now, $120 million payroll, to devote 20% of that to one person as a small market just doesn't make sense. So I feel like and I've said all along, I thought Glasnow would have been traded by now. So because of the way that the Rays front office works. So for us to be here and us to almost be leading here and him still be on the Rays is kind of surprising to me.
A couple more things, we'll get you out of here on the baseball front. Any other, obviously from a Rays perspective, there's some chatter of potentially Randy Arozarena, Paredes maybe getting traded. You hearing anything on that front?
I haven't. I know that there are a lot of people that are throwing things at a wall and seeing what sticks. For Arozarena, yes, he's going to be 30 here pretty soon. He turns 29 in spring training. He's a Scott Boras client, which is always not conducive to being a Tampa Bay Ray. and he's got team control left, and people want him because he's a big name and he's come up in some big spots for the Tampa Bay Rays. I don't see Randy being traded this year. This isn't the year that I think they trade Randy Arozarena. Now, if they're out of things at the trade deadline, I certainly could see Randy getting moved. I certainly could see Randy getting moved next offseason, but not this offseason. Same thing with Paredes. While I think they most people think that the Rays would be selling high on Isak, and I think that is a possibility. I think that I don't think that they're as convinced that they want to see if Curtis Mead and or Junior Caminero can play third base consistently and hit at this level. I think they can play it defensively. I think the big question is, can Curtis Mead or Junior Caminero take that final step and become true big league hitters? Now, talking to Kevin Cash yesterday, he thinks that they both can. We'll see if that is actually the case.
Last thing on baseball, then we'll transition. Talk about any news, any chatter, any news. Wander Franco situation.
Yeah, we are all waiting on the police investigation in the Dominican Republic, and as far as I know, that is still ongoing. The most amazing thing about this is that nothing is leaked. You would think that if this investigation was going on in the United States, there would be stuff everywhere about this, but this has been so quiet. We have not heard anything from the police down in the Dominican Republic. We've not heard anything from Wander Franco. We have not heard anything from any of the accusers. I mean, it has been radio silence, and this is really, I want to say it's impressive, because usually by now we know at least a little bit, and right now it seems like everybody that I talk to, whether they're in the Rays organization, whether they are in other organizations, everybody's in the dark.
Do you think the Rays are making master planning to not have Wander Franco this year?
I think you have to. I think you have to plan as if we're going to get to the first day of spring training, because right now Franco's on the 40-man roster. He has to be by procedure. But the day that spring training opens, they can put him back on that administrative leave list and take him off the 40-man roster. He'll still accrue service time. He'll still get paid through this whole thing. But I think they are planning as if they're going to get to spring training and have to put him on administrative leave. I don't think there's any other way that you can plan this offseason. It's amazing that, you've got a 40-man roster that is now fully complete after the signing of Chris Davinsky yesterday. You have 5 guys that are going to come off of that 40-man roster at the start of spring training, but not before, because the guys that are coming back from Tommy John surgery, the McClanahans, the Springs, the Rasmussens, you're probably going to take Taylor Walls off because of the hip surgery, and Wander Franco. So it's amazing how tight the maneuvering is this offseason for the Rays because of the 40-man crunch that they have.
Will he get paid? If he's on that administrative list, will he still get paid?
He still gets paid. Yes, he gets paid, and he accrues service time just as if he was on the active roster. He's just not on the active roster.
And that, with the Rays' financial constraints, that even more tells you they'll probably trade Glass now, because if you're sitting there eating Wander Franco's salary this year and he's not playing,
it's amazing. It's not that much this year. It was $1 million last year. I think it's $2 million this year. So his contract is extremely backloaded.
Okay.
So his contract doesn't get expensive for, I think, another 2 or 3 years. It's going to be a while. So I think they can be okay eating Franco's contract this year, but there's going to come a point where the Rays are going to start to get antsy. Right. I have a feeling, and they're going to go, all right, Dominican Republic needs to get off the pot. And, because what's going to happen is either A, the Dominican Republic is going to clear him.
Right.
And then Major League Baseball can finally take their
penalty.
Recourse.
Right.
He can finally be penalized by baseball, because that's what we're waiting for. And I would assume he gets suspended for, some sort of conduct charge. And so then the Rays will then be able to put him on a suspended list and not pay him, or he'll be charged with something and the Rays can immediately put him on the restricted list and not pay him. So that's the thing that we're waiting on. We're all waiting on this investigation to finish up, and there is no sign that it is anywhere close to being finished.
All right, listen to Steve Carney, who's at the baseball winter meetings in Nashville. Nice 40-minute walk ahead of him to the Opryland.
And it's freaking freezing this morning, Mr. Bigglesworth.
It's cold down here too, actually, this morning. It's probably in the low 50s here too, so it's chilly here.
It's 39 degrees this morning in Nashville. Thank God I have a jacket. I got a puffy jacket to wear.
All right, lastly, we want to get to Steve, too. That's something I know is very close to his heart. He's a military veteran, so appreciate your service, sir. We have the Army-Navy game this week. Again, Steve hosts a podcast, the Stars and Stripes podcast, part of the college Gridiron Coast to Coast podcast network that I'm a part of as well. So give us the audience a little theatrics of Army-Navy week in your world, and I'm sure you've been to that game before. Give the audience a little of being there for the Army-Navy game.
Amazingly enough, I've never been to the game, Jason.
Oh, wow.
Because when I was in the Navy, I was always deployed, so I never got a chance to go. And when I was working at WDAE, the USAA has junkets that sends radio shows to the Army-Navy game, but I never got to go. They always sent Pat Donovan and Aaron Jacobson, and my response to that was always like, wait a minute, I'm the military veteran,
yes,
and I have USAA insurance.
Yes.
What the hell's going on here? So why am I not there? But all joking aside, this is quintessential college football. Everybody talks about rivalries, whether it's the Red Sox and the Yankees, or Michigan and Ohio State, or the Bears and the Packers. They're the Celtics and the Lakers. There's rivalries everywhere. There is no rivalry like Army-Navy, and I say it is the biggest rivalry in all of sports, and not just American sports, not just professional sports, all of sports.
Yep.
So this is the saying is it's the only game where the players on the field would die for the people in the stands. And you think about it, it's for both of these teams this year, this is it. They're not going to bowl games. This is their bowl game. Army's got a chance to capture the Commander-in-Chief trophy, so obviously the Black Knights have even more motivation to be the midshipmen this year. And Navy has all the motivation to keep Army from winning the Commander-in-Chief trophy. It's going to be a huge matchup. Should be a lot of fun. Army's job running the ball has been incredible. Navy's front seven may be one of the best in all of college football. And I really do think that this is good. It's always going to be low scoring. It's always going to be close. Even when these teams are, hyperbolically different, when one is like 10-1 and one's 2-9, this game is always close. And since they're both 5-6, this one's going to be extremely tight. On Yards and Stripes this week, which is actually going to come out late tonight because I'm in Nashville and I put it together, and all of the production elements are sitting on my desktop at home. But it's all recorded. It's all ready to go. Price Atkinson and I, we talked with former Army captain of the Army football team, Steve Anderson, 2009, 2010 captain of the Army Black Knights. So we talk about his history with the game and why he loves the game so much. He turns 8 different shades of purple. He's so intense. I mean, he had me wanting to run through a brick wall. We also talked with Bill Wagner of the Capital Gazette in Annapolis, who has covered 24 of these games, and get his thoughts on the Navy side. We give our predictions. I'm going to tell you that we all went the same way with the team. Some of us had differing opinions on the score, but we all went the same way this year. So you definitely want to check out Yards and Stripes when it comes out here late Wednesday night, early Thursday morning.
And the cool thing is, one of the cool things about this game, other than all the pageantry and all the stuff that happens pre-game, post-game, during the game, they move the game around to different places. This year they're playing in Foxborough, up at Giant Stadium.
I'll be honest with you. I think the game needs to be in Philadelphia more than it is. It's just the tradition of being in Philadelphia. I mean, they've played, was it 90 of these games in Philadelphia out of the 123 so far. It's when I talked to Steve Anderson about it, he's like, this game needs to be in Philadelphia. It's different in Philadelphia because of the trash talking. It's a blue collar, the work ethic in Philadelphia, it's different there. I understand wanting to move it around, but you also have to remember the logistics behind it. You're bringing not just a cheering section of the school to this game. You're bringing the entire schools.
Right.
You're shipping the entire Corps of Cadets from West Point.
Is that what happens? Is that what happens every year? They allow the entire Corps to go?
The entire Corps goes.
Wow.
And the entire brigade of midshipmen go.
So West Point
and Annapolis are dead on Army Navy Day. There is nobody there because everybody is at the game. That's what makes this game so special. You have on one corner, you've got an entire school, not a portion of the school, not a percentage. The entire school is there, and the entire school is on the other side, and they go after each other all game long, and then they walk out arm in arm because of the love that they have. And that's what makes this game so great, Jason. It really does. It's why it's why CBS broadcasts it every year and gives it that prestigious spot where it's
platform by itself. Yeah,
it's all by itself, and it deserves to be all by itself. And it will continue even with Army going into the AC next year.
And people don't realize that's one of the hardest tickets in sports to get is the Army Navy ticket.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it.
Great. It's crazy. So, no doubt.
Hey, there's more desire for an Army Navy ticket than a Taylor Swift concert, according to Jonathan. Right.
But
I don't know if I believe that one.
You go to Ticketsmarter.com and find that Army Navy ticket for you this year. So, all right, Steve Carney, great work, sir. Appreciate the efforts and the time in Nashville. Keep up the great work with the Stars and Stripes podcast. I know Steve's going to be doing a lot of stuff with the Rays still once spring training starts. Tell everybody where they can find all your great content, sir.
Yeah, it's at St. Pete excuse me, at stpete9.com, where you can find all things Rays. Of course, College Gridiron Coast to Coast Podcast Network, where we've got all of these great shows like Florida Football Insiders. Going to give that a nice little plug there. Other shows like Get Off My Pylon that we take a look at the West Coast things. Yards and Stripes, of course, is for Service Academy football. We've got the Big 12 Breakdown, Big 10 Paradigm, as well as This Week in the ACC. So check them all out at College Gridiron Coast to Coast. And, of course, stpete9.com for all things Tampa Bay Rays.
And I got to give a plug to Steve. Steve's kind of our general manager for this podcast feed. Steve's the one that does all the putting up on the platform. So kudos to you, Steve, for all the hard work you've done throughout the football season. We will have a Florida Football Insiders podcast coming out probably Thursday as well, kind of talking about the Florida State playoff situation, the bowl matchups with the Florida teams as well. So stay tuned to that as well. So Steve Carney, safe travels back to chilly Tampa today. It is chilly here, so but you're used to it now. Have a great rest of your weekend and enjoy Army Navy, sir.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
You gotcha.